You've met integers, strings, doubles, floats, booleans, arrays, dictionaries, structs, and classes so far. But there's another type of data that's used extensively in Swift, and it's called a closure. These are complicated, but they're so powerful and so expressive that they are used pervasively in Cocoa Touch, so you won't get very far without understanding them. A closure can be thought of as a variable that holds code. So, where an integer holds 0 or 500, a closure holds lines of Swift code. Closures also capture the environment where they're created, which means that they can take a copy of the values that are used inside them. You never need to design your own closures, so don't be afraid if you find the following quite complicated. However, both Cocoa and Cocoa Touch will often ask you to write closures to match their needs, so you at least need to know how they work. Let's take a look at a Cocoa Touch example. We'll say let VW equals a UI view, one of the fundamental classes from iOS development. I can now say UI view .animate with duration 0.5, animations, open brace, vw.alpha equals 0, end the brace, end the parens. Now UI view is an iOS data type in UIKit that represents the most basic kind of UI container. Don't worry about what it all does for now, all that matters is it's the most basic UI component. The UI view class has a static method called animate, and it lets you change the way your interface looks using animation. You describe what's changing and over how many seconds, and Cocoa Touch does the rest. The animate method takes two parameters in that code: the number of seconds to animate over, plus a closure containing the code to be executed as part of the animation. I've specified half a second as a first parameter, and for the second, I've asked UIKit to adjust the view's alpha, that means opacity, to 0, which means completely transparent. This method needs to use a closure because UIKit has to do all sorts of work to prepare for the animation to begin. So what happens is, UIKit takes a copy of the code inside these braces here, all the code in our closure. It then stores it away, does all its prep work, and then runs our code when it's ready. This wouldn't be possible if we just ran our code directly. Now this code also shows how closures capture their environment. I declared this VW constant outside of the closure, then used it inside the closure. Swift detects this and makes that data available inside the closure too. Swift's system of automatically capturing a closure's environment is very helpful, but can occasionally trip you up. If object A stores a closure as a property, and that property also references object A, you have something called a strong reference cycle, or retain cycle, and you'll have unhappy users. This is a substantially more advanced topic you need to know right now, so don't worry too much about it just yet. As closures are used so frequently, Swift can apply a little bit of syntactic sugar to make your code easier to read. The rule is this: if the last parameter to a method takes a closure, you can eliminate that parameter and instead provide it as a block of code inside braces. For example, we can convert our current animate with duration code to this: animate with duration, end the parens there, get rid of the animations parameter, and just have an opening brace and a closing brace, like that. It does make your code shorter and easier to read, so this syntax form, known as trailing closure syntax, is preferred.